afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the monthly resource group. Today's topic is personalized caregiver training program. And just to let you know, I have Kristin Keefe. She's our newest social worker that just recently started with the chapter, and she's going to help us with questions today. I first want to review our thought process for this new program. And it's formal caregivers, such as home health aides, must go through a training program that involves learning skills and proper techniques in repositioning, transferring, bathing, and dressing individuals. These are the same tasks that you often perform on a daily basis. In fact, informal caregivers, such as spouses and family members, are responsible for providing the majority of care for those living with ALS at times. That indicates that caregivers learn ways to cope with these tasks, but the question is, are they doing it in the most efficient and safe way for the person living with ALS and themselves? So we often hear from caregivers that they feel unsure about how to provide proper care, if they're doing it the right way. They don't want to injure themselves and certainly not the person living with ALS. So we decided to try the personalized caregiver training program. We actually initiated this program several years ago, but we're starting it again with kind of some new lessons learned from the past. So the purpose of the personalized caregiver training program is to address those issues for caregivers. The program will focus on day-to-day care, such as bathing, dressing, grooming. It will provide one-on-one training in the home for the caregiver and care recipient. And it's going to focus on tasks specific for those, sorry, tasks specific for the caregiver and what they need in a home. So the outcome is going to be hopefully the caregiver and the person living with ALS feels more comfortable in taking care and receiving care from their loved ones. Um, so some of the training sessions, just to give you an example, are assistance with personal hygiene and grooming, how to give a proper bath, bed bath, or transferring, safe transferring and ambulation, and maintenance of a health environment. So looking at the home and making sure that there's the correct equipment, or for example, if someone recently received a lift through our loan program, training in proper use of the lift. These are just a couple of the examples. Again, we're going to be working with our social workers that we have at our chapter, and kind of working with you, most importantly, our caregivers, to see where exactly you're struggling with. Um, Kind of just a um, reminder is there is no charge for our services. The chapter does not bill insurance companies. The chapter does not base eligibility on income, and you can never ask for too much. And most importantly, we're here to help.
Marie, there is a question in the chat.
Mhm.
Do they have to have a script for this?
No, that's a really good question, Kristen. And no, there's no script that is needed because the difference between what we're doing and, for example, what you might get through your insurance, which is home care, is that we are not doing therapy with the individual. It's a training program. So let me back up because I think I forgot to mention that we are going to ask for an occupational therapist. Lee, many of you might already know her and might have been out to your home already. She's going to be doing these trainings. And once you talk with your social worker at our chapter about the training, then we'll make the referral for Lee to make the contact with and begin the process for arranging the therapy sessions at your home. Again, because it's not therapy, it's training on how to do things, a physician script is not needed at this time.
There was actually another question. How often will they come out?
Okay, so it's based on need. We're looking at it as again, because it's not therapy. We don't want to say like twice a week. I'm typically will be no more than four to six visits, and it's going to be based on a training that's required. Again, each training session should be kind of in with the family and individual. If someone's needing more than that or ongoing therapy, then that's when it's going to switch to home health possibly or coverage through insurance to do a therapy. This is meant just to be specific to the tasks that are requested by the family. Did that answer the question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just checking to see if that was answering the question.
I think so. Um, and then they also had said, can they be receiving home health services and this training at the same time?
Yes, you can because, and this gets back to the chapter not billing insurance companies. And because we're not billing insurance companies, our services can be provided at the same time. Now, having said that, if you're receiving occupational therapy or physical therapy in the home, they also might help you with this training. So again, it's a matter of working with your home care provider, working with the social worker at our chapter, and working with the families to try to determine how we can maximize the help in the home and provide the service that is needed. I think this is a good time to bring up, one of the changes that we're making in the chapter is that probably in August, you will all receive a letter from our chapter letting you know who your assigned chapter social worker is. With the addition of Kristin, and not too long ago, we hired Jill and myself. We have 3 social workers at the chapter. And we thought that it was important to make the change to have one point of contact. So therefore, each family will be assigned a social worker, and that will be your point of contact. So if you have any questions, that would be the individual that you would be in contact, and it'll be one of the 3 of us. Now, that's not to say that you can't, the important thing is that you get a hold of our chapter and that we help you in what you're struggling with. But we're hopeful that having that one point of contact at the chapter will make it easier for you, for our families. Any other questions about the personalized caregiver training?
There was one more. It says if the need were to change, could somebody come out and help like do another assessment again or training with them again?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and unfortunately, I think all families know that there is often changes with ALS and the needs change. So yes, the simple answer is that if any changes come about, say you had one training and it was on transfers and now the situation with transfers has changed and you want again additional training or a different type of training, you can reach out to your social worker and they'll help, they'll make the referrals as needed. So I thought I would also take this opportunity to talk about the other caregiver training, or I'm sorry, the other caregiver programs that we have at the chapter. So we just went over the personalized caregiver training program. We also have a caregiver support group that meets monthly. a powerful tools for caregivers class, and a respite home care grant. So the caregiver support group meets monthly. It's usually the third Saturday of every month. Currently, those are virtual caregiver meetings. We're always in the process of reviewing our policies regarding in-person and virtual meetings, but at this point, they are virtual meetings. Again, meet the third Saturday of every month from 9:30 to 10:30. If you're interested in that, please let myself or April in our chapter know, and we can make sure that we give you the details. We also have powerful tools for caregivers class. Again, right now that's also virtual. It's a 6-week program. It's usually once a week on Saturdays. We hold these 3 times a year, in the fall, in the spring, and we're adding another one in January. At this point, the one that we're having in the fall, usually September, October, and please look in our ALS bulletin for more details or call the chapter if you have interest in participating. That is more of a class. I really, I'm a strong believer in caregivers taking this class. We get such positive feedback. Every class focuses on a different topic relating to caregiver. So one class might be on stress management, another class might be on finding community resources, another class might be on communication. It's a national program for caregivers, so although it's not specific to caregivers of someone living with ALS, of course, everyone that attends our meetings are caregivers of someone living with ALS. Again, any questions, please contact myself or anyone here at our chapter. I also want to talk about our chapter grants. Briefly, we have chapter grants for home modifications and assistance with co-pays for speech generating devices and power wheelchairs. But in more detail, I want to talk about our respite and home care program. This grant, you can find it online or contact the chapter if you feel a need to complete it. But the idea behind it is to provide some relief to the caregiver. It's a $3,000 grant for non-skilled care and $5,000 grant for skilled care, paid to a agency or provider directly if you're approved for the care. And this is for 6 months. You can apply or reapply every 6 months. During that time, though, we are looking for other options. For example, are you a veteran that could be receiving more help through the Veterans Administration? Are you eligible for some of the state-funded programs? And your social worker will work with you through that process as well.
We did have a question about that in the chat. It says, what is the difference between skilled and non-skilled care?
So good question. So non-skilled care focuses on bathing, dressing, kind of someone that does not have a feeding tube, for example, or respiratory care needs. It has to do more with what the person through the agency is doing during that time than actually the care related. And let me give you an example. If someone has for a feeding tube and all the feedings care is done in the morning or in the evening, and the worker through this grant is going to be during the day when there's nothing that's needed with the feeding tube care. So if nothing is needed with the feeding tube care, then that is non-skilled. But if they need to do either cleaning or G-tube feedings, then that moves to skilled care. So the difference is less about the person and more about the tasks that they are being asked to complete while the formal caregiver is there. And again, really for your caregivers and those living with ALS, that's one of those things that the social worker and our staff and the home care provider will work with you with that and ask questions to determine. When you apply, you don't need to know if it's skilled care or non-skilled. The application is a generic application, so you're not really applying for anything specific.
To go along with that as well, can you switch from the non-skilled to the skilled grant
Yes.
funding?
Yeah. So, and especially if someone's needs changed, then that switch can be made anytime that it's needed. And then, and the reason why there's a change in price, or the $3,000 to $5,000 is the rate of a skilled worker, like an LPN or a nurse, is higher than a non-skilled. So that actually balances it out so that everyone's receiving the same amount of care for the hours through our chapter. And we realize that this isn't, a large grant, and maybe not able to meet all their needs, but what we're trying to do is provide some help and possibly a bridge short term where we're looking for other potential options like the state funded programs. And that's where our chapter social workers will work with families and guide you through that. Any other questions, Kristin?
There were no other questions so far.
I just have a couple final thoughts. And after all of this, please don't worry about, oh, I don't know if I need to apply for the chapter grant, if I'm skilled care or non-skilled care, or I think I need the personalized caregiver training, but I'm not exactly sure what training sessions I need. You don't need to know exactly the specific service or what you need exactly. What we're trying, if you relate to us, I am struggling with, and you name what you're struggling with, that's part of what our job is to do, is to help you sort out our programs, our services, state funded or other potential resources, and guide you through how to maximize the help through our chapter and other potential resources. So don't necessarily need to know all of our programs and all of our services, but the most important thing is, if you're struggling with something, if you think that you need some help, just call us. Call us and we'll help you kind of determine what program or what service will be best for you. I put my contact information on here. Please don't hesitate to call us with any questions, any concerns. The best way to reach me is my cell phone number, and that's the 412-310-7808. My email is also there. And the office number, 412-821-3254, extension 233. I appreciate all of your time. I hope you found this helpful, and please don't hesitate to reach out to our chapter with any questions or any needs that you feel you have. We don't want anyone to feel like they're struggling alone, so please call us. Thank you.